Hi everybody, I'm DJ Sixsmith. You're watching The Sit Down. This is my neighbor over here, Stephanie Stiles, right down the street. Hey,
yeah.
How are you? Kiss Me Kate, right down the road.
Yeah, if you ever need a glass of milk,
Some sugar?
I've got you if you're baking up in here at CBS.
It's good to meet you.
It's so nice to meet you too.
Thanks so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
So before we talk about the show, I want to talk about the backstory because you're a big theater head. Like, it's been a part of the bloodline for a long time. So who were the early inspirations and when did you realize you really wanted to get into this whole thing?
I think what's interesting is my mom and dad never were in theater, but they loved theater. And so that was something early on in my life that they introduced me to. I remember watching Mary Martin, Peter Pan, and all these incredible VHS musicals, and even like the early Disney movies where I was like a 90s kid, so that's the Disney Renaissance, so like Aladdin, Little Mermaid.
Oh, those are the
Beauty and
best.
the Beast.
Yeah,
the best.
absolutely.
Alan Menken, Howard Ashman, nailed it. And so, but those were, Disney Animation hadn't been doing musicals for a long time. They'd been doing like The Rescuers and Rescuers Down Under, and like it wasn't really their vibe anymore, and then they got back into musicals. So I think my generation was raised on that. So that's where I started loving stories propelled by song, and I saw my first show when I was 4, and I was in my first professional show when I was 6, so I've been doing it for a while, and I love it so much, and I've had a really lucky career in that I've gotten to do incredible jobs in film, TV, and theater, but until this year, my greatest, oldest dream has been to be on Broadway, and it didn't come true until this year, and it's happening right now.
That's really incredible.
Down the street.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I remember doing shows in elementary school, middle school.
Wait,
like,
stop. What shows?
what
was your like big part?
Oh man, I was usually just one of the people on the side, but we did like Annie Get Your Gun,
Yes,
Grease.
classic.
We actually did, the most embarrassing was High School Musical as a play.
Are you aware that my co-star is Corbin Bleu of High School Musical
I am
fame?
aware of that, yes.
Oh my God.
So we had to watch all those movies. So
wait, but you did it as a play? Oh, wait, but you still had songs?
We still had songs.
Okay,
yeah.
I was confused.
It was,
like
it was
the
a musical.
straight serious play, High School
that wouldn't have
Musical,
worked.
no musical. How meta.
But
Crazy.
as much as people would love to hear about that, let's focus on you here.
Sorry, I'm like trying to talk about your career, your elementary school.
Anyway, what I was going to bring up is that I remember doing it as a kid, but you're 6 and you're doing a professional show. Like, how do you even soak that in, get ready for it? Like, did you know what was going on around you?
I do really remember the audition, and I remember that someone had told me that the secret thing throughout my career is that people have been telling me I'm secretly funny, and
You're just riding with that?
Yeah, and it's something I didn't really pick up on, but I guess that was the one thing I haven't really had to work on. You know, I've had to work really hard about where I am dance-wise and vocally and everything, but the one thing that came innate to me was like a sense of comedic timing. I remember some teacher telling me, like, for this audition, this professional theater audition, I should sing this song from Barnum, which is like the most random patter song ever. And now I've found myself doing a career of like exclusively doing a lot of patter songs. So I did this funny song, and then I remember I had an audition with, it was Scrooge, so like Cratchit Children, Cratchit Fam, and my audition scene was a scene with all the kids, but my character had no lines in the audition. And so I was like, what do you do when you don't have lines? Listen, and that is acting.
There you go.
And so I just remember like listening and paying attention to the kids, and I truly think that's what booked me my job. But my mom tells stories about how she said, I would drop you off at these rehearsals and you would say things like, yeah, Mom, I have to learn a Cockney accent. And I'm like, and she would be like, what's a Cockney accent?
Wow.
And then she like, saw the show and she was like, I couldn't believe you were on stage being like, look, Mother, Martha's home. And like saying all these lines. She was like, I didn't know my kid could do this. And apparently I was doing it. I just remember it being so fun. And it was starring, you know, Tony-nominated performers. And it was in Houston, Texas, where I'm from. And yeah, it was crazy, and I'm lucky to have been consistently doing musicals professionally since I was 6. I did a tour when I was 11, and when I was 14, I did a long-running stint at New York City Opera doing an opera. So I've had these amazing experiences while simultaneously still like going back home. Like I had a very normal high school experience. I did the High School Musicals, not officially High School Musical, but like doing stuff with my school and going home and having that normal. And I really wanted to go to a university that also had general education classes, which is why I chose the University of Michigan, which is probably one of the top musical theater programs.
Yeah, no doubt.
But the fact that I also, you know, had a tailgating and had an amazing football team and those experiences, and my best friend and my roommate, you know, was an LS&A major. Like that was really what's been great about all of this coming together, is that I've been able to be, you know, this theater girl, learning from the best, being a professional early on, but still have the best of both worlds and being a normal person too. we lost a remote.
I don't know what fell though. It was just
It was a remote.
Oh, okay.
It fell. You know, I think it's going to be okay.
Well, that's the beauty of editing, right?
Yeah. I might need to like revive it.
I think it'll be all right. It'll
She's
survive.
good.
Yeah. So you mentioned the fact that you were touring at 11 years old.
Yeah.
And you're doing homework in the back of the bus.
I was.
And just seeing the whole country. So what was the coolest part of that?
I think it truly was. It was the sound of music. So you have a few Von Trapp children. So we all had different ages, and we would do 14 one-nighters in a row, and we all had legal guardians. Like our parents were with us in this bus, but we would be doing school from the minute we left the hotel, you know, on an 8-hour bus ride, and then do school the whole time, and then go do the show. And it was, I don't know how my mom did it. She's a rock star, but it was a crazy, unbelievable thing. We would take like field trips instead of going to like the History Museum. It would be like to Mount Rushmore or, you know, the Lincoln Memorial. And it was incredible. And visiting all these theaters across the country, you don't realize how many theaters are haunted. That was like a huge thing for me. It's like
I didn't realize
so many
that.
haunted. Oh my God, the one in Memphis, crazy stuff. The stories of the theater in Memphis are wild.
What are the stories?
Well, there's just, I remember like these men in the crew and the flies like would come and be like, want to see a picture of a ghost? And they would like show you a picture, and there's like this blurry woman. And like there's stories about when the Phantom of the Opera went there and crazy stuff that happened. The ghost doesn't like evil shows, like Phantom, and like didn't like the helicopter in Saigon, so she does crazy things.
Okay.
It's a little girl. And but she loved shows like Sound of Music and Peter Pan that had kids.
So you guys were good.
So she would behave, like we were fine. I did have a headband go missing.
Still wondering where that is.
Yeah, don't know where it is, but the theater ghost of Memphis.
That's really interesting. So I like that you had a normal high school experience after all that, because I'm sure some people in your position were just like, I'm done with school, I'm just gonna do this thing full time.
Yeah, and that works for them. And but it was something about, you know, I'm from Texas, I have a little brother, and it was something that was like very important to me. Having had so many years where, you know, I had homeschooling kind of, but with a tutor that wasn't my parents. And it just was really important to go to high school. And I loved my high school, and I learned so much about acting there, even, you know, even though it was just a totally normal Houston high school, and had incredible experiences that I think made me who I am today as a performer.
That's awesome. So a ton of people in my town went to Michigan.
No way.
My cousin actually goes there right now.
Go Blue.
So
Amazing.
he's all into it. He's an engineering student. So you have that part of it, a very fratty school, and then at the same time, excellent theater program.
Oh yeah.
So why was Michigan such a good spot for you?
It was always my dream school. When I was 13 years old, this woman, Rachel Hoffman, she cast me in the Sound of Music tour, and I remember she told me like, that's where you should try and go to college. Like, it is the best. And you know, we're the leaders in the best, you know, I can't say anything, I am biased. But I think it's an incredible program that not only you know, molds actors into the best versions of themselves, but fully educates them about, you know, you have your general education classes, but the history of musical theater, and you can even take producing credits, and it's just, I learned so much there, and I worked on the things that were difficult for me, but also they really plussed my assets, and the education I got there, and the amount I learned about being an artist and a human at Michigan in Ann Arbor, it's something I carry with me every day of my life.
That's
and
cool.
Everything happens for a reason, and it formed me into who I am today. We have our sophomore year, you have sophomore evaluations where it's super intense, the most nervous I've ever been in my life. And you have to do like 2 songs, 3 scenes, this crazy long essay, and it's just evaluating where you are halfway through the program. And at one point, they say, you know, we want you to sing some songs, and sing some songs of roles you think you might do. And I randomly chose as one of my songs, Always True to You in My Fashion by Cole Porter from Kiss Me Kate, a song that I'm now singing on Broadway every night.
That's crazy.
And so I remember bringing that song in thinking, I think I could be Lois Lane. I think that could be a good part for me. And I, you know, got my notes on it, and I applied those notes to my audition, and I got the job. So thank you, U of M.
That's an amazing full circle moment.
It is. There's a lot of odd full circle moments with this, and the specific show, and the people who are in it, and this theater, and you know, you have all these little parts of your life that seem like nothing in the moment, and they come together to form this like beautiful constellation of like what was meant to be. And I truly feel like that's what's happening right now.
And you mentioned the fact that you'd always dreamed of being on Broadway. you had this song from your audition in college, and here you are again. So how did this all come together, and when did you realize, like, this is going to be my thing?
I think, again, like, I'm so lucky to have been consistently working, but I've booked 2 Broadway shows. Like, I've already had 2 phone calls saying, you got a Broadway show before this. That just because it's theater and you never know, and it's acting, they didn't happen. The first one was supposed to be a revival of A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum with James Corden, who I love.
Oh, that would have been cool.
Yeah, he's incredible, and like with my dream director, Alex Timbers, and this and Stephen Sondheim, like sang for Sondheim, did the whole thing. My first Broadway audition out of college, and I got the part, but then he got the late show, so it didn't follow through.
Yeah, that changed things a little bit.
And then, and I'm like, okay, that's fine. Like everything happens for a reason. And then I did another show of Roman Holiday, also conveniently by Cole Porter, thanks for employing me, that didn't get, it was supposed to come to Broadway, but it didn't get a theater, and it transferred from San Francisco. So that's like when I went to LA and I started doing more film and TV, and around the time where I shot Bonding, that's coming out next Wednesday. And it didn't seem to be happening. And so when this came along, I remember getting the call, and ironically, the show was being cast by the 2 people who cast me in the previous Broadway shows I was supposed to do. And I was like, I love Kiss Me Kate, and I do love Broadway. And they're like, why don't you fly in from LA? I flew in, had a crazy audition experience, but it was so fast. And I auditioned on Monday, had a call back on a Wednesday, and found out Thursday morning, walking from the West Village to Central Park, that I got the part.
Nice. You'll never forget that walk.
Oh, I was truly, because I was living in LA and I missed walking, so I was like, I'm gonna walk from the West Village to meet my friends at
And that's
the
a
Plaza.
long walk.
It was a long walk, but I had some great tunes, and I remember clicking over, seeing like Paradigm, my agents, and I clicked over, and they're like, how do you feel about moving back to New York City?
You're like, yes, I'm in.
And I was like, oh my God, yes. And I always thought that whenever I booked a Broadway show, and again, this had happened several times, but I'd never done this just because it never felt real, but for some reason this did feel real, is I said I was gonna listen to the song Lullaby of Broadway from 42nd Street. And so right when I got off the phone with my agents, called my parents, and then I just stood outside the Plaza before meeting my friends and just listened to all of Lullaby of Broadway and had a moment.
That's awesome.
It's pretty scenic.
You deserve that moment after
Thank
everything.
you.
know, it's an amazing thing. And people dream it, but it's another thing to actually do it. And to do it here in New York, there's nothing else like it, too.
Yeah, and it really makes the dream even sweeter. And it's something that I do believe everything happens for a reason. And having, doing the show now, I still am so elated and look at Kelly O'Hara every day and can't believe I'm getting to do a Broadway show with her. But after being through so much and working so much, I've been able to be less nervous and really just have my eyes on the stars but my feet on the ground, and it's been really perfect.
Yeah, and just focus on hitting those boards every night.
Truly, and actual literal boards, because I slide down planks and hang off of ladders.
So how have you grown as an actor, as a performer during Kiss Me Kate?
I definitely, my stamina and what I thought I was able to do physically, there's a lot of dancing and tricks in the show. Like sometimes we have a fight and lift call before every show to make sure, because there's a lot of fighting and a lot of lifting. And there's some times where Kelly's in the corner with a whip and I'm sliding down this plank that guys are pressing we're full, and I'm getting flipped over, and I'm like, yeah, this is Cirque du Soleil. This is
this is totally normal, right?
And those are things that I love doing. And I love doing them, and they feel so great in my body. And Warren Carlisle, our incredible choreographer, has created 2 incredible numbers for me. But it's nothing that I thought, going to this process was yeah, I'm gonna do a backflip on 3 guys and sing upside down in a ladder on Broadway. Yeah, that seems in my bag of tricks.
But it's really interesting. You've been thrust in these positions, whether it's as a 6-year-old, whether it's in this show. You didn't realize you could do these things. You didn't realize you had that accent. But all of a sudden, you're put here, and you're good to go. So you're one of those people that just executes and performs. So how does that become a thing?
I've never thought about it before.
I mean,
you're bringing me so much clarity.
No, but honestly, some people in that situation, it'd be too much for them to handle. They wouldn't know how to do it. It doesn't click.
Yeah.
But for you, it may just be life right now, but something's going on here that it works for you, and it works consistently.
And I think it's the people you surround yourselves with.
Totally.
Because my family has been so supportive, but especially this show, this family, it's a community of people just wanting to be the best versions of themselves because people make you feel that way. I mean, Kelly is such a strong leader. Will Chase is incredible, and we were talking about Corbin earlier, and we are partners in that he is so driven, so professional, but also a goofball. And we truly bring out the best in each other. And I know this show wouldn't be as magical as it is without those people.
That's awesome.
I don't think they make them like that all the time.
No, that's what people usually say. When they have a good one, whether it's a theater show, a TV show, a movie, like you can really recognize when it's great. Because there's other times where it's just going to be another day at work.
Yeah.
And not the same cohesiveness. So it's cool that you have that right now.
I'm excited. It's a good day at work.
Definitely.
At Studio 54.
Yeah, not bad. So how did the whole film and TV thing come into the picture for you?
Ironically, Houston, Texas is great in that it's this crazy amalgamation of like cowboy boots and great metropolis, and they have a PBS unit in Houston.
Oh,
so when I was a kid, I auditioned and got this PBS show called Science Quest, and so I started doing film and TV as a kid in Texas, and then really was mostly doing theater, which had me traveling, and then over the last few years got back into it, whether it was some small projects, some indie movies, but then a script came forward, and that was Bonding. And it was one of the best things I'd read in a really long time. That's the Netflix series coming out. And it was created by this amazing guy, Ryder Doyle. And it was this incredible story about, these two friends from high school that went really separate ways and they came together. He's a struggling gay comedian looking for a job to pay his rent, and she just happens to be New York's best dominatrix, and she needs a bodyguard.
Oh, wow.
And so that's their story, but it's much more, about their relationships and the relationships with other people, with this sprinkling of, this interesting topic matter. And I play her foil, the dominatrix foil, this goody two-shoe, Blair Waldorf, Tracy Flick type, who's very conservative.
Interesting.
And these characters, it's just such an ensemble piece, and there's such characters. They're fully fleshed out. They're so colorful. Even aesthetically, the show is so sound. Like, I'm always in these cool tones and slowly maybe get into different tones because of what happens to my character. And even, Zoe plays the dominatrix. She's in like reds and blacks, and it's so beautifully shot, so funny, so crazy, shocking, but really still has a lot of heart. And that really got me back into doing more film and TV, and I took the last year to be in LA, where I shot 2 features and a pilot, and I loved it out there, and I loved doing all these different types of mediums, but that one dream that was still hanging on
Broadway.
was this, and it got me back here, and I'm so happy, and I can't wait for what's next.
Definitely. It's wild. You described that show, and it's like totally normal for 2019. But if you were to tell me that premise a couple years ago, I'd be like, wait, what?
You'd be like, what? Shocking.
But it's like Netflix, of course. They're
that
pushing
Netflix
limits.
original series, that seems very on brand.
Yeah, but like people are writing amazing scripts now. So like everybody that comes in, it's like TV is the thing, and just the way that the industry is changing with Netflix and Amazon and Hulu, like there are going to be more opportunities like that for you.
It's also a true story. It was based on Ryder's life.
So there you go.
So
it's not even that far-fetched.
No, I know. This is like what's happening to us. I mean, Kiss Me Kate's based on a true story. It's based on the Lunt-Fontaines and everything they had in their relationship. And that's why I think that it's like weird, these amalgamations of these stories that are so much based in reality, yet they're so fantastical that because they're based on fact, you almost wouldn't believe. That's like what gets them made, because someone would be like, that would never happen. You're like, nah, this happened.
Actually, it did.
Yeah.
So when people check you out on the stage or in the show, what do you want people to think about your work and just the type of person that you are coming into it?
I hope they think I'm really funny, and then they meet me and they think I'm really nice.
I think both those things are true based on this interaction. You've called me out from my performances in middle school.
Listen, I want to know about this High School Musical so bad. And to get your gun, all the things.
The classics.
Truly. What a great arc you've had in your small career in theater.
We'll end it on that. Stephanie,
so nice
thanks
to
so
meet
much.
you.
Kiss Me Kate on Broadway right now. Bonding coming out next week. We'll see you next time here on The Sit Down.